Good night, everybody, and welcome once again to another LimeVibe Live podcast. I'm your host with the most, Yuri Araman Kemp from Nassau, Bahamas, along with my beautiful co-host, Ms. Kimberly Ramkalaman from Trinidad and Tobago. So please, if you have not done so, please like, share, and subscribe to our Facebook and YouTube pages. That's LimeVibe77 on Facebook and YouTube. It really helps us a lot. So like and share and subscribe to our videos on YouTube and Facebook. And also there's a donate link right at the bottom of the page as well, the bottom of the description, I should say. So please, if you have anything in your heart, you can help donate to this show, and it really helps us keep the light on here. So Kimberly, how's things going in Trinidad and Tobago?
It's still very much rainy here. We're getting a lot of feeder bands, they say, from Tropical Storm Brett. If you look at a map, you would see that a lot of the outer parts of it is covering the Lesser Antilles as well as up to Trinidad and Tobago as well. So we're getting some, we got some hits. South parts of South Trinidad actually experienced some very gusty winds. We had floods as well today. It was raining mostly nonstop for most of Friday here in Trinidad. And that's what we're experiencing here right now. So it's a quiet Friday, at least for me here. I'm joining you guys. But all eyes are still on what's been happening over the islands. I know that Barbados is still experiencing some rains and some. So is St. Vincent. I saw the damages sustained in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. A lot of homes were damaged along the coastline, as well as St. Lucia. St. Lucia experienced a good bit of storm surge. And I saw some videos of damages to some of the villages near the coastline as well there.
Okay. So everyone's still watching out for tropical storm Brett. And hopefully that it doesn't turn into a hurricane, category 1 hurricane, at least.
According to our Met services, they said Brett continues westwards towards Central America and the ABC Island.
Yes.
It's moving to the Caribbean Sea.
Is it expected to dissipate in the Caribbean Sea, or is it expected to get stronger?
They said it's actually losing strength right now in the Caribbean Sea. It's expected to cross to the Central Caribbean Sea and north of the ABC Islands in the next couple of days. But yeah, they're expecting it to lose strength. They're expecting it to it might even go back to being a depression also.
Yes. But let's not get our hopes up too quickly, because there's Tropical Storm Cindy right behind it, isn't it, right?
Cindy formed sometime today. They actually they said it was located more northeast to the Lesser Antilles, but it's projected on a path to go northeast. It's not there's no tropical warnings issued so far yet, as moving more west northwest, they say, and it's about 26 kilometers per hour so far, and they're monitoring its forecast track. They have a track forecast for it already in the next few days.
Okay, and there's nobody hurt as yet in Barbados, right? And everyone's safe and sound. Jess,
I saw some downed trees in Barbados causing damage to homes as well. And I saw, that's the most I saw so far. Normally you actually see a lot of damage when it comes to coverage. You can always look to social media to find stuff that's happening.
Yes, and videos are always on social media, right?
I'm not seeing that much. I had to go looking and hunting for it. I saw most I saw is when their chief meteorologist Sabu Best came on this morning, and he showed how gusty the winds were and was advising Barbadians to stay inside. He was cautioning them to stay inside because I think it was clocking a good bit at Granty Adams International Airport.
Yes, Granty Adams. Yeah, I saw the waves licking on the coastline of Barbados as well. Yeah.
I know yesterday they had experienced a good bit of high waves. They said the crests were crashing really high. I saw it crashing at a cliff.
Yeah, I saw that too. Yeah, I think we saw the same thing.
It was round on social media.
And no tsunami watch, right?
No tsunami watch, but storm surges were experienced, I think, in mostly St. Vincent and Grenadines and St. Lucia.
Okay. Once everybody's safe, I didn't hear about anybody losing their lives, so everyone seems safe. So that's good. So they're gonna make it through Tropical Storm Brett, and Cindy's gonna pass by us. Glory, thank you, God. Thank you for saving the people of Barbados and Saint Vincent and Curacao.
But we just got some rains and some gusty winds here. I saw the winds picking up in a different manner from your usual average rainy day here in Trinidad. And I looked at it and it's like I was saying my prayers for people in Barbados and the other islands, hoping that nothing too severe happened. Um, we know CARICOM is scheduled to meet next week here in Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes.
So our concerns are hoping that everyone is safe. I know still the leaders will be active and out there tending to their parliamentary areas and the people that need help, that would have sustained damages to their homes and things like that. But I have not heard of anything too major so far.
Okay, that's good. So while Brett was lashing Barbados, Prime Minister Mia Motley, she was in Paris, France, giving the people over there a good talking to, wouldn't she? She chose violence this time, didn't she? Right?
Caribbean Magazine Plus took it in that tone.
Yeah, she chose violence.
She admitted, she says, even right now, in the face of my own country and several other Caribbean islands, preparing and facing the damage from Tropical Storm Brett, I am here because I need you all to hear what I have to say.
Yes.
And that she has been championing since last year. They announced the Bridge Down initiative. She's had her financial advisor, Professor Avinash Prasad, on her side. And he's been there with her at these conferences when it comes to the talks and the meets on the sidelines. And she has been pushing that talk, or calling for a transformation when it comes to world financial institutions to include natural disaster clauses. And what it essentially, the Bridge Down initiative does is that it pushes that these international financial agencies like the IMF and the World Bank, that they include these clauses that essentially allows countries, the most vulnerable countries, like small island developing states, that when they face these disasters, destructive disasters such as earthquakes and hurricanes, and sometimes here in the Caribbean, islands like the Barbados and even the Bahamas experiences hurricanes back to back. And we've seen that every hurricane season almost. And she's saying that when countries have to stop what they're doing when it comes to their developmental projects and tend to recovery efforts, what she's saying, pause on whatever loans we've taken and give us a chance to recover. Because having to pay loans while at the same time rebuild a country from a natural disaster is essentially choking a nation and preventing it from even moving forward.
It's amazing she has to go over there and tell these people to be decent, I mean, why would you want to continue on with loans when someone's going through a major disaster? Why would you want to even continue that? That should be something that should be automatic, cease all loans for the time being until we get back on our feet. But it seems as if we had to tell people to be decent. I remember during the pandemic here in the Bahamas, there were several landlords that were still requiring rent even though the places were closed. I found it to be absolutely abhorrent, man. I mean, who raised these people, Kim? Who raised these people? Why would you do something like that?
And essentially, that's what she's urging people, these financial institutions to do. Right?
She has them to be decent, and that's a sensible thing. That is a sensible thing, Kim. She should not have to go over there and tell people to be decent. All right, and she gave Emmanuel Macron a good talking to, didn't she?
I believe that this summit was actually one that she and Macron actually put forward. But she said in essence that, she called it the "How dare you" summit. Yes. It's like, how dare you upset this over that we have called all these financial institutions to essentially buff them and put them in their place. How dare, they're probably seeing us, how dare you step out of the crease and summon us all to this inflection moment, to look
Yes,
in
yes, yes.
what our institutions have built ourselves on for how many years. They call it Bretton Woods, right? They've been in existence since the 1800s, and
Mhm.
they've continued along this path when it comes to how they finance loans, how the contracts and whatever agreements that they put other countries to sign on to. She says when you all formulated these policies, all countries weren't even existing. All
Yes,
countries
yes, yes.
in existence. And you all have come with these archaic policies and pressured us and put us through it just for us to get some money to move forward. And we're not able to move forward sufficiently because we're always facing disasters where we have to take 10 steps backward
Right,
instead
this is
of.
a disaster brought upon by them, by the larger countries, you know.
And so this entire meeting, which is the Paris Summit, and they've dubbed it the United Nations New Global Financing Pact.
Mm,
This is what it is. She's gotten the green light and support from Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres.
mhm,
And he too has been calling for this change.
mm.
And I believe he has her heart in understanding it. So having that, you are able to get them as your audience. She
Okay.
said she will say it as often as needed, and she will preach it as often because she needs them to understand it. The entire world is looking to Mia Motley for bringing about this change.
Ah, Lord, don't inflate the ego more than it is, Kim. Don't inflate the ego anymore because she already when that feeling herself, right? Don't inflate the ego any more than what it is.
So I'm saying she's gotten the audience of the entire world and she's using it to
Mhm,
her benefit, and it's going to benefit countries like ours
mhm.
once all of us act appropriately as well, right? And
So, any
respond.
idea when the World Bank and IMF are actually going to make any progress on what she's been advocating?
So later this year, according to Avinash Prasad, he says you're not going to really see the change just yet
Mm.
until later this year when they have the meetings. Later this year, September to November, you see the G20, the COP28, the
Mm.
IMF and the World Bank have their meetings in October.
Mhm.
So I'm guessing that's when all these policy changes, hopefully, she's championed the votes from around the world. She's gotten her voice heard all
Yeah.
the way to countries like Malawi that experiences drought and
Yes.
they're
Yes. Yes.
suffering. She's gotten these people to stand behind her. So when they have their voting opportunity, she has their understanding of what she has put forward,
Yes.
and she has
And she comes from a position of strength. She didn't go over there begging. She didn't go over there, butt kissing. She went over there with a solid, tangible plan that could actually move things forward. And that's important. That's different from any other Caribbean leader I've seen, take the approach with these large multilateral agencies in these larger countries. Usually they go over there and they go over there with their tail between their legs and they go over there sulking and go over there with a cap in hand. But she went over there with an actual strategy and a plan to actually get something done. And that should be commendable with itself.
Indeed, indeed. So far, the World Bank says they would start adding in the clauses to amend these lending terms that would allow vulnerable states to suspend debt repayments when natural
The
disasters.
United Nations put that in place.
The World Bank
Oh,
says
the
it's
World
going.
Bank. Okay. World Bank. Okay. That's
Prime
good.
Minister,
That's the first step.
Prime Minister Motley says, "I don't want my representatives going back
Mhm.
and meeting with you all, the IMF and the World Bank, and then you're putting these other clauses and it still remains the same."
Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
a warning, telling them she does not want to see that.
Mm.
You all have to make a change.
Hmm.
And what it is also doing, it's also drumming up. She's saying that we need to move the blame game on governments, holding governments accountable. It's about time that the
Hmm.
private sector pay up their dues when it comes to what they've done to the earth, how
Yes.
they've benefited as well.
Yes. 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 And no one holds them to account. Nobody holds these private sector firms to account. Nobody holds BP and Exxon and all these other large multinationals to account. These steel companies to account, and they've been raping the world, and no one really brings them to any heel. They just get away with it scot free most of the time, and unless the European Union makes a step or the United States federal court makes a step, nobody really takes these large firms to task. It has to be a real significant and egregious matter for them to actually take people to task like that. So yes, we need more action from the International Criminal Court and the International Court of Justice to deal with some of these people. I agree with that. I mean, I'm a champion for that. But here's the thing, though: when you go to litigation, it becomes so lengthy and so costly that it's not even worth following through with it. So, then people talk about arbitration, but arbitration is really weak. Arbitration really doesn't have any punitive damages. What you get with arbitration is probably get a payout after an agreement is being made to the sidelines, but it doesn't really hold anybody to account. We need someone to go through the process and go through the criminal process, the rigors of a criminal court, for us to see any real justice for what these people have done to this earth. But, it's a lengthy process and no one really wants to go to court.
Yeah. And well, according to them, they've targeted at least $100 billion a year from the private sector capital, because that's the amount they're lending, these private sector companies, they get so much money in borrowing from banks as well when they want to expand their businesses and things like that. So what is it when it comes to assisting, putting forward monies to other, these
she's talking about taxing some of these multinational companies
as well.
She's talking about taxing. I thought she's talking about taking them to task in court.
Document, the British Initiative acknowledges the potential need for richer countries to provide fresh money to multilateral development institutions like the World Bank. This comes alongside their plan to draw on more of the current assets to the tune of $200 billion over 10 years.
And she wants to take that from the private sector. Boy, I don't know about that, Kim. That's something that would put the earth, that put the economy into a standstill, man. Gotta be careful to start talking about taxing these corporations,
I'm not so sure if she's calling it a tax, if they see it like that. But it has to come from somewhere, right?
Yeah, I know, right?
Continuously coming from governments. It can't probably come from governments when you've taken the monies that these corporations have earned off the backs of everyone too.
Well,
right?
That's the only way you're going to get the money from if you tax them, because they're not going to give you the money over themselves, and they're not going to willingly fork over hundreds of millions of dollars to a fund that they didn't work for. So the government has to get involved to make sure the money goes from one place to the other place. And so you're going to end up another bureaucracy where people where there's a whole heap of money that's being passed through government hands, and it's going to be ripped off, pilfered. Some people are going to miss payments. It's going to get messy. It's going to create another layer of a burden of bureaucracy. I don't think she wants that. Nobody really wants that.
She as well spoke about the GDP aspect of it, and how the hypocrisy of the entire thing is that European countries were faced with 90% of debt, their GDP, while other countries, the maximum they could have reached was 60% GDP, right? And she says, when you ask these other countries, she says, you're going to kill the capacity of a country to fuel growth or sustain itself when you continue along this kind of path.
Yep. That's right.
A lot of people let me hear you.
No, what you going to say, Kim?
I was shifting gears to an argument about her talking about financing and others comparing that, you're losing the conversation away from financing, away from climate change to financing. So, but she's saying that, yes, the focus on climate change can't always continue. People were saying that that this has shifted the focus away from climate change, the climate change conversation. And they're kind of concerned about it. I think one particular person, she said, Teresa Anderson from the Global Lead on Climate Justice said that the Paris Summit has not provided breakthrough needed to find funding for planet survival. She said these things are pointing pledges to helping debt relief and instead of grants. I know this is what the Caribbean Climate Smart Accelerator has been looking at.
Yes.
They've been more towards the grants. Want to finance climate change and resiliency in the Caribbean, we're looking at the grants and we're looking at innovative ways in which we can fund it. That's what Raquel Moses has been championing.
Yes.
But when it comes to Mia Motley is saying that, yes, we understand there's climate change. This helps us deal with climate change in essence. Because we have to rebuild because of climate change, the impacts of climate change that has been wreaking havoc on small island developing states. She's also saying that these things will always continue to happen. Climate change, pandemic. She says these aspects of the era could be overcome. We will overcome it, but we need to have a mature adult-like conversation when it comes to the fundamental issues of financing.
Yes.
She says this will solve a lot of problems. In a sense, it's not rocket science. It's something that can be done because the capacity is already there within financial institutions to make the right policy changes needed.
Yeah, I agree. Things need to change, Kim. Things need to change. Help the small developing states to mitigate some of this climate change impact and fallout. And that's the right kind of tone to take, because but to me, Kim, I think I've said this before, even though I live in a country that's being affected by climate change, I'm not so sold on the sciences yet, in terms of, is this just the natural occurrence and the natural change of the earth, or are we really causing all this damage ourselves? I'm not really sold on that, the evidence is still inconclusive to me.
Seeing the sargassum seaweeds come on board, that means the waters are warming.
I know the waters are warming, but is man 90%, 100% at fault of that, or what? Or is it just a natural occurrence of the world just changing temperature? And that's the thing I think we need to have the discussion on, because I think we're just looking at one side where, we're talking about climate change in this only linear kind of fashion where we think that only man and fossil fuels are the root of climate change, when this could just very well be the natural state of the earth just making its own natural climate change itself. And so the reason why I said, because we don't want to go wholesale into initiatives and industries that really is a waste of money that would not really help the climate change fight in any event, and would essentially probably do more damage to people on the ground who need, the economy to keep moving, and to drastically change the way the economy works from moving from oil and fossil fuels into, cleaner fuels, quote unquote. Now that could have some significant impact to the way we do business, the way we live. And so if that's not really what the situation is, then of course it's going to take our eyes away from what the real situation really is. So if it's not really fossil fuels 100%, then what really is causing the climate change?
It's industrialization on the whole, because I live in a country that's heavily industrialized, Trinidad. We have industrial estates. They put out a good bit of, waste. They've done studies about it when it comes to the temperatures that it releases, the exhaust fumes and all of that. We are just a small island state. We have a lot of heavy production that releases things, the flames, whatever is being released. It's contributing to temperatures in the world. And this is just one small island, much less to those larger countries like India and China that have continued along the path of coal mining, right? We see what larger countries that are more heavy industrialized in America and in Europe. And that too has added to global temperatures. With that, it has affected the ozone layer. And this is something we've always learned since in science, since primary.
Is it really true? That's my thinking. I mean, because 1 million years ago, 2 million years ago, 3 million years ago, the Earth was a lot hotter than this. And we didn't have all these industrialization. We didn't have all these plants. So my thing is that really the truth? Is that really the case?
We're seeing what's happening in Alaska, where it was really cold and icebergs melting, polar bears losing their homes and things like that, right?
That's happened before, though, and without all the plants, without all the industrialization, without all the smoke, without all the fire. So I that's what I'm saying, so what really is the truth? What really are we going to say about this? Because we're going to go see, and my thing is, it's going to take our eyes away from what really could be causing the climate change and the earth to warm. If we're only looking at one particular facet, one particular lane of what they think could be behind climate change, but it may not necessarily be the case. Maybe something else. Maybe kittens. Kittens may be the root cause of climate change. Who knows? Who knows? Right? I'm not defending these industrialists, of course, because I think there's a difference between pollution and climate change. There's a difference between pollution, where they actually pollute the earth, and climate change. They need to stop the pollution, of course. But when it comes down to actual global warming and climate change, is man really at fault for 90%, 100% of this thing? And I'm not sure that's the case. I'm just not sure that's the case. And enough to change the way the economy works to suit a few people who want to have solar farms and wind farms and things of that nature, I think is becoming a political issue that doesn't necessarily need to be, you know. And so my thing is let's look at it a bit more carefully so we can find the real root cause of climate change, which would be a lot more fruitful, I think.
I
Because
mean,
you do agree this has gotten political, right?
it has gotten a good degree political in a sense that we've seen this little girl from Austria, Greta Thunberg,
Yeah,
arrive a whole set of hoo-ha in my book.
yeah. And she's not a
But
real scientist, by the way.
no, she has no education to really say anything.
No.
You know, years of research and science. This research has been going on since probably the late 70s into the 80s, all the way to now. The science is there to show what was there before in the earth, and they back it up. So you have to look at that sound research, and I think, you know, sound research that does not go into, you know, looking at the funding and where they've gotten their funding and things like that. Sound independent research we have to look at, and we would see, you know, the truth, I think.
We would see what they want us to see. That's the thing. But my thing is they're only looking at one side of the thing, one side of the coin. They're only looking at these large industrial firms. And so what else could it be? Like I said, could it be kittens? Could it be that the population of kittens have grown exponentially over the past 1,000 years? That's caused warming?
Waste. We have our own human waste. We use a lot of plastic. We use, you know, a lot of horrible products that, you know, we right now, telecommunications does emit a good bit of radiative waves back out into the stratosphere. And what is that doing as well?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. I'll tell you, I'll put my cards around the table, Kim. I think we wouldn't be talking about climate change if it wasn't for Al Gore and his 2002 presidential run. We would not be talking about climate change the way we are if it wasn't for him.
I think so. 97, I was a student, but we were talking about greenhouse gas emissions back
Greenhouse
then.
gases, yeah, that's true. We were talking about that. I mean, greenhouse gases, of course, right? The ozone layer, yeah, we were talking about that from the 90s and 80s, right? But he made it an international affair when he stood on his platform talking about climate change, and he made it a significant part of his presidential run.
And back in the 90s, I remember scientists coming to Trinidad and Tobago and watching how our coastal erosion, how our island had been, you know, taken away by the sea, right? We saw where houses used to be, houses are now out in the sea. I remember seeing that as a child in the early 90s, and it left a lasting impression on me.
Yeah, I can imagine. It would leave a lasting impression on anybody. Dorian still impacts me, still haunts me to this day. Even though I wasn't on the island of Abaco, I'm still, you know, struck with terror as I've listened to the voice notes and heard the calls and cries of people in Grand Bahama and Abaco who were in 30 feet high, you know, seawater.
Yeah.
You know, it was just absolutely insane. And so, you know, it was, wow, I can't believe that. I still don't believe it.
I believe climate change is real. And I believe
100% behind it.
I believe that industries do need to take a level of responsibility for what they're doing.
I agree. Against pollution, exactly, against pollution, but are they at the root cause of climate change? You know, and I like I said, I want to put my cards on the table again. I believe that because, you know, this thing goes, especially in the United States, it goes on political lines. You know, Republicans are for fossil fuels and natural gas, while the Democrats are for wind energy and, you know, solar, cleaner technologies, cleaner fuels, right? There's going to be a political battle moving forward, and it's going to be a redistribution of the Democrats would like for it to be a redistribution in the way the economy works from the Republican fossil fuels to their clean energies. And that's all it is right now. It's just a fight over who's going to control the energy provisions in the United States. And no one really wants to have that conversation, but I'm going to say it right here, right off the bat. That's where it's really laying down right now. That's where the fight really is between the Democrats and Republicans on how they're going to control the way energy is provided in the United States. And so they've been shaping most of this climate change talk. And so I could see why people are becoming a bit more skeptical about this climate change initiative and these climate change talks. But that doesn't mean that they still don't need to help us out in these developing countries with regard to how climate is being changed. And of course they do. We still need help, regardless of it's man causing it 100%, or it could be kittens causing it 100%. We still need help here to mitigate against some of the climate change impacts and ravages. But in saying that as well, in addition to that, we need to be protected against these large industrial companies that have been polluting the earth with their waste and their toxic waste and their chemicals. Yes, we need to be protected against them. However, in saying that, we need to ensure that the conversation takes a turn where we actually discuss the real root causes of climate change. I still think that conversation needs to be had, Kim.
It does. And I believe they've had it many times. And during these kinds of conferences, they do have plenary sessions where it is discussed. Because some people and a lot of leaders, just like yourself, are not sold on climate change. And they will continue about their normal business with industrialization continuing, welcoming many companies and corporations, multilateral, multinational corporations coming in, setting up their business in their countries without a care for the damage it may bring to one's nation.
Yeah. I want to qualify that, Kim. It's not that we're against climate change or we're skeptical about climate change. I believe in climate change. My thing is whether or not man is 100% behind it. That conversation still has not been satisfied to me to any great extent. And I just don't believe that man is 100% behind climate change, especially since we've known historically, scientists themselves have said that the earth has changed temperatures at least 5 or 6 different times over the billions of years it's been in existence. We're talking about drastic climate change from extremely hot weather, hotter than this what we have right now, to the ice age. So is this a general occurrence of the earth or not? Is man behind this or not? Is God behind all, or are kittens behind all of the climate change?
You're saying kids. I know why you're using that word.
No, I mean, it sounds stupid, but I'm being serious. What really is it? Because we have not really focused on any other possible idea, any other possible thing that could be behind climate change. We just focus on the large fossil fuels and the large industrial companies. We focus on that solely. We haven't had the full discussion of what exactly is behind climate change. When scientists have said, if you go to watch any YouTube documentary, read any science book, they've said that at least you know about the ice age. So the earth was cold as ice. The whole earth was frozen over before. And there was at least a massive extinction event that was caused by extensive heat, at least about 1 billion years ago. So these things have happened. Scientists have documented this. They've done their research and they've said that these things have happened. So what about that? There weren't any large plants back 1 billion years ago. There was only a few dinosaurs floating in the air.
Yes, I understand that there's a regenerative process when it comes to the earth. So what if the earth is regenerating itself in a sort of way like this, but we're also contributing with the climate, with industrialization? So it could perhaps be twofold. And we're probably speeding up the process as well.
See, we're not even having that conversation, Kim. And that's a good conversation we could have, because they just, singly focused on these fossil fuels in these industrialized countries, but they're not focusing on perhaps it could be 20% man and 30% fossil fuels and another 40% kittens and another 20% sperm whales. Who knows? Right? I think let's have a pure conversation rather than getting us involved and getting us hyped on with all this, political nonsense. That's really what it's turned out to be, left versus right, Republicans versus Democrat, fossil fuels versus, wind energy and solar energy. That's what this is about right now.
Right.
Yeah. Sorry for rant, but that's how I feel about, because we could be finding other ways, we could be finding other things out about the climate that we didn't know about. But we're so focused on trying to stick it to Exxon and Tata Steel, we're so busy trying to stick it to them that we're not really focusing on what really could be behind climate change. And let's try to mitigate, the impact against small countries like us and help us to be prepared against it, really prepared against it, without damaging the economy, damaging the way the world works. Because that's really what it's going to boil down to. I think they want this energy shift so bad. They don't see how drastic it could be against the world,
And
and the way
that's
it works.
rant for the night.
Yeah, my rant for the night. Yes. I need to have one for the night, Kim. And maybe me and Molly needs to talk down to me too. How she told President Macron, how dare you summit. She needs to address me. Maybe I'm being ignorant. Who knows? I'm quite certain people that are out there like Greta Thunberg and those and the climate change advocates, they'd say Yori's just being stupid. He doesn't know anything. He's just an ignorant fool. Kim is right, 100% right. That could be the case. However, prove me wrong. At least let me see some more of the information.
In other news, I heard that Prime Minister Motley also signed a loan with the European Investment Bank for some 10 million euros. So it's supposed to help increase the island's capacity in terms of health, acute medical care, including the Queen Elizabeth Hospital in Bridgetown. So I know that during the pandemic, our country had faced a good bit of backlash when it came to having space in their hospitals and taking care of its people.
Yeah, that's every hospital around the region, I think.
Yeah, so I believe this is to help in that sense there.
That's good. So she got some money for a trip. That's good.
So she signed something over there with the EIB.
That's good, So more debt for Barbados. Yay. They need it.
But it's how they're paying it back, though. One thing she's looking at, when she talks about this payback, she says they're paying it back in ways that it's like debt swaps for climate or education or health. So when these loans are signed, there's a mechanism that allows for some kind of debt swaps for climate and education, a trust that will be able to help out. She said it has already worked with her using the IDB and the Nature Conservancy. They did there was able to finance protection for their marine area, and it was able to be swapped for climate change. So that's how it works. That she says that it's something like that.
Okay, that's fair enough. Well, let's see if this experiment works with our Barbados. I think if it works, then it could be copied throughout the rest of the Caribbean, which is good. Let's let Mia Motley run the whole gamut. Let her run through the entire gauntlet to see exactly how we get better concessions and better things from these larger countries and these larger development agencies. I think that's a good thing, and that's one thing she's doing for all this. I really appreciate her for running this gauntlet. And showing these other leaders how you go there with strength, and you don't go there with cap in hand. You go there with something to offer first.
I think that it has gotten the air and eyes of many economists around the world that have justified it as well. I mean, he has Professor Avinash Prasad behind her. He's an economist. His dad was a big economist in CARICOM in Guyana as well. And he has the expertise and experience because he would have worked for big companies like JP Morgan in the United States. And he was the one that made the comment that many of these multilateral banks like the IMF and World Bank had been taken over by attorneys rather than economists. And this is why many countries were dealt with all these harsh clauses that did not work in their favor. So it's about time that financial instruments are redesigned by economists and not attorneys.
Yes, indeed. That's always led to a mistake. And that's been the death of the financial service industry. There are too many lawyers who have gotten involved in investment banking and financial services and not enough financiers and economists. That's been a significant problem throughout the world. And lawyers are like locusts, they go everywhere and they invade every place. And they really offer nothing beside from the law. Then they're not creative people by trade, they preserve and protect the law. And I'm studying law and I'm telling you they're locusts. All right. They only preserve and protect the law. They're not creators. They're not creative people. Very rare, you have the rare unicorn of a lawyer who has a social thinking and economic thinking and focus. Otherwise than that, most of them, they just preserve the law. They're just about staying within the rules and the guidelines and maybe be able to break a few rules every now and then, but they're not into creation. You know, we need creators, we need thinkers. That's what this world needs. We need creators and thinkers, creative minds. You know, and I hate to sound like a cliche, but yes, we need creative minds, Kim. People who could think outside the box and people who could create things, build things from scratch, you know, start something brand new. That's what we need. That's what this world needs, man. More creators, people who aren't afraid to put themselves in the line to do a new thing, you know. And with that's what this world needs, man. Builders.
Yeah, and she's calling that these things need to happen soon. As she's, we need to act with urgency.
Yeah.
And as well. And it's, you know, the British Young Initiative is all era's innovative financial instruments. And
Yeah.
the interesting aspect of it is that it also allows for, you know, partial foreign exchange guarantees that will, you know, put behind the overpricing of foreign exchange that countries like ours, you know, have always learned. She said the global south, she terms us as the global south, have always faced when it comes to lending, you know, when it comes to borrowing, you know, according to foreign exchange, you know, they've always overpriced it when it comes to countries like ours. And she says this British Young Initiative looks at that, you know, it puts these kind of guarantees in place that will assist nations like ours. So it's quite an interesting document. I know it's a hefty document. I remember Professor Prasad, he was the one that disclosed a good bit of it at, I think it was Sir Arthur Lewis's distinguished lecture put on by the University of the West Indies last year. And he went into detail as to how it worked. It was quite intriguing. I know Caribbean Magazine Plus, we had covered it in one of our articles, and it was something to really take in, you know.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Explaining the British Young Initiative and what it means. It really takes a good bit of guts to really come up with something like that, something new, something innovative, and put it forward on a global scale.
Exactly.
And it's amazing.
Takes courage. Yes.
Got the attention of the IMF, the World Bank. We saw Mia Motley with a World Bank president, Ajay Singh, I believe his name is, in Paris today. So he's gotten his attention. She's gotten the United Nations SG's attention. We're proud that she is from our region.
Yeah, I am too, man. Yeah, like I said, let her run the gauntlet, let her run the entire gamut, let her go through the entire chain, you know. And so she could blaze a trail for the rest of these Caribbean leaders, you know. And I appreciate her for that. If that's one thing, yes, I appreciate her for that. You know, taking the bold step and putting out something creative, that's doing something different. It's really spurring some of these other guys into action as well, you know, because everyone wants that same kind of love when they go to these international agencies and these international conferences. They want that same kind of, you know, platitudes and backslapping, but you haven't put anything forward. You know, you came back to your own people with the same old okey doke, you know, running the same thing over and over. It took a woman and Mia Motley to come and change the dynamic, the way we talk about these things, you know, and that in itself is noteworthy. Yeah. But other news though, Kim, I mean, did you see this Honduran prison gang riot that killed 46 women 2 days ago?
I think was it a fire that led to them dying?
Most of them died in the fire, but it actually started from a gang fight between the Barrio 18 gang. They attacked the MS-13 gang inside the Honduran prison, and so they set some of those cells afire. And those they didn't light a fire, those who came running out, they shot them and they stabbed them and they cut them with cutlasses. And so there's a huge investigation on Honduras right now to find how the Barrio 18 gang, female gang members, got guns and machetes and knives into the prison, how they actually lit the other cell block afire, because they're different gangs, they had them separated, all right? But they were still able to tease and taunt one another, and they would still be able to get to one another. So it started off with a fire, then it turned into a whole-scale bloodletting, where people were being shot and stabbed and chopped with all sorts of things. It was a real bloodbath. 46 women died and many more injured inside that prison riot. And it was just sad, man.
You would think that behind prisons, you have security that would prevent such things from happening, right?
Yeah.
Among women as well.
Mm. But I'll say though, inside Central America in particular, a lot of these prisons are run by the inmates. The guards really don't get involved in a lot of these things. The prisoners actually run these prisons in some of these places in Central America, particularly in Brazil and Colombia. The prisoners actually run the prisons. They take care of these things, and maybe the Honduras prison was one of those places, right? Where the prisoners actually set their own rules and guidelines, and the prison guard just monitors the perimeter and just lets them do whatever they want to do on the inside, and then just got out of hand. And actually, days before, people were complaining that this thing was going to boil over inside this prison, but the prison authorities didn't do anything about it until it got to this. And it's so sad, man. 46 women lost their lives.
I'll tell you one thing. I don't think that they're going to have any kind of investigation or inquiry that's going to lead to anything, because they know who exactly the root cause of it.
Yeah.
And they can't hold anyone really accountable for it, because they know that the gangs rule everything. If this is the culture inside their prisons, what's really happening on their streets.
Yes. But this president, Xiomara Castro, she's a female, the female Honduran president. She called it monstrous, and she vowed a full investigation into all of this. Now, she hasn't gone full scale right on the gangs inside Honduras the way Bukele has done in Nicaragua, where he's been locking up everybody with a tattoo, right? But she has been, putting Honduras through lockdowns and particular states of emergencies where she's looking for these gang members the best way she could. But it's just what happens when you lock them up and they do this inside your prison, It's just one of those things, man. It's so sad, But she has fired the Minister for National Security and replaced him with the Chief of Police. So that's one thing she did in the aftermath of this prison riot. Because they weren't taking this thing serious, man. There were calls from inmates inside the prison telling their family members, hey, this thing could kick over anytime, right? Anytime this thing could really boil over. And they didn't take any attention to it, They didn't pay any attention to it at all. And now we have 46 women dead, and people in terror inside the prison. What you going to do now? What are you going to do now?
Yeah. And then you've got, I know the human rights activists are going to come and get involved in this as well.
Yeah. Because I can imagine the prison isn't safe anyway. I can imagine the Central American prison not being safe, right? So you have the added pressure of it being not safe and being a murderous killing field, where anyone could die and be murdered on a whim, because the prison guards, they just let the inmates run the prison within inside the prison gates. They don't get involved in all these things. They're not like the United States, where you have federal lockdowns and you have, people, the guards really taking an active role inside what happens in the prison. No, they step back. They let the prison, even in the United States prison, they let some of the prisoners, run the prison yard. It's just that they have to be back in time before a certain time. By the time it's lockdown, that's it. But otherwise than that, even the prisoners inside the United States prison, they have a free reign to do and to congregate with one another and to interact with one another and settle things out themselves. And so can you imagine that 100 times worse inside these Central American prisons? They just take a hands-off approach, leave them alone. You're already in hell, so why should we get involved in your hell? It's just one of those unfortunate things, man. 46 women, Kim. My goodness, 46 women.
46 women, and they got doused with flammable liquid. Where they got the flammable liquid, who provided it, and
yes,
something like this to happen,
Yeah.
Fire was a detrimental thing, not so. I mean, they had gunfire, they had machetes and things like that to stop women. It's just really ruthless.
Yeah, that's how these gangs are. And for female prison, that's the thing. Females are bad. Now, this happened in male prison. Yeah, I can understand that. But a female prison, how do women get that passionate about these things, about these gangs?
Those and grenades were found.
Yes. So if they have access to all these things, why are they locked up? How come they don't break themselves out?
I would think so too. Perhaps that as well. Or perhaps in terms, they were probably getting fed food. And they were safe from, having to work for their gang leaders who are outside there too.
Yes.
And then you go and this whole, grimace, everything just horrible there. It's just like,
Yes. Just death just hovered over that place. Oh my goodness. And this is the second mass fire we've seen in the on the South American continent, right? Because we have the Guyana fire not
Yes.
too early, not too long ago, right? But yeah, it's still, I guess the spirit of death, the spirit of death by fire sweeping up, Latin America. It's gonna probably end up in Mexico next, and probably end up in Los Angeles next. Let's pray that it stops, man, because that is just a horrific way to die, you know. Especially when people were complaining about it, Kim. People were complaining about it. We need protection inside the prison.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't realize there was a Barrio 18 gang though. You only hear about MS-13, right? This is the first time I've ever heard about the Barrio 18 gang.
Yeah.
I didn't realize they were so strong either. So we're focusing on MS-13, but there are hundreds of other gangs inside Central America.
But then we're hearing this other issue moving to, the whole Winrow scandal as well,
Oh yeah.
where people were misclassified as illegal immigrants
Yes.
and they were called to come and serve. It's really horrible. It
Yes,
is.
yes.
And the thing is, this comes after since 2017, we've been hearing how
Yes.
they're trying to deport pensioners, even
Yes.
children, grandchildren, and great grandchildren.
Yes.
One of the Windrush generation that served, that nursed your nation back to health.
Exactly. That
When-
shows you the British love for you right there. Shows you the British love. But who started this though? Theresa May started this with her policy back in 2017. When she was the Home Secretary, she actually wrote the policy that advised the government to actually send back some of the Windrush generation people. And then she became prime minister as a result. Shortly afterwards, David Cameron resigned. She was the president. She was the prime minister. But she is the one who actually started the policy.
Yes, I know that.
Yeah.
Because of this, people were stripped of their rights as
Exactly.
citizens, and people of Britain, they lost their pension rights. They lost even employment, and they lost their healthcare services and everything.
Exactly.
And access any benefits that they rightfully, deserve, because they've worked their entire lives. A good bit of them, they were born there, and now we want to strip them of this.
Exactly. And send them back home after they've already become old and sick. They want to send them back to Jamaica and Barbados after they become old and sick. That's just sickening, man. I wish Rishi Sunak, Prime Minister Sunak, actually does something about that and actually puts a full stop to that. Because if Caribbean people aren't safe in the United Kingdom, then Indians and Nigerians aren't safe, because next is them.
That's the thing, right? A few months ago, they had called for the British government to actually apologize and issue an apology for slavery. And what were they questioned in their house, what was going to be done for reparations by the British government. Rishi Sunak says he does not owe anyone any apology.
Oh, Lord.
And that was a disappointing part. And I saw him as being a token colored man.
Oh, Lord. Yeah, Kim, that's disappointing, isn't it?
Because, and I'm not sure if he said it because he needed to save his own brown ass. Indians in England as well.
Yeah.
And when he said that, it was really disheartening because I expected more from him.
Yeah. But do you think he said it because he doesn't have the luxury of not being a white man? That maybe it was Boris Johnson that said something that would have been a lot more uproar, but because it was him, and he's looking like he's being more pro-British by, being against, the colored people, maybe he wants to look more British.
I think everyone understood that if he did it for the Caribbean enslaved, that he also have to issue an apology to the Indians, to Indians, what was done to their country as well.
And nothing's wrong with that.
And he was not in a position to do that as well. Perhaps.
My goodness.
I do think it would take a bigger person to say something.
Yes.
It's a little bit more sympathetic to what these people endured.
Yes. And there's nothing wrong with apologizing to the Indian community either. There's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly. And I'm not sure. I mean, the Queen is dead as well.
Yeah.
Monarch in town. So I think he could have done better.
Yeah.
And I expected better from him, but this was really disappointing. And he lost a few strikes in my book. Yeah.
Yeah, Kim, he went down the peg, right? Yeah, he should. As well, he should. Stand up for the poor, stand up for the weak. And it looks like he's going to go off his own Indian compatriots, Kim, because after they've done with the Windrush generation, the Caribbean folks, the Indians and the Nigerians are next. And I'm going to say no. I put it backward. It's going to be the Nigerians and the Africans and the Indians next.
Definitely. But the Caribbean diaspora has faced a lot when it comes to, they've done so much for England.
Yeah, they have.
Basically spit in their face.
Exactly.
Tell them you don't have any right to this. When you've actually helped take care of our people.
Yes.
And when everyone else was at world war.
Yes.
So I would like to see Rishi Sunak step up to the plate and do something and stand up for the Windrush generation.
Yes.
But I'm not banking on it.
Yes. It's only the right thing to do.
I'm not sure if they think if we do this, we're probably going to cut a good chunk of the pension payments that the state owes and cut off some debt when it comes to the national health system as well, the NHS. I'm not sure if that's the thinking, but I don't think it's that much of a population. They're still in the minority.
Exactly. It's not a big deal.
Generation is in the minority, and to lump them with illegal immigrants.
It's just insulting, man.
It's really
And you brought them there. They were brought there. First of all, you took them from Africa, you brought them to the Caribbean, say, no, I don't want you in the Caribbean anymore. I want you in the United Kingdom. And you brought them to the United Kingdom to work for you and to slave for you and to take care of you while you were at your worst hour. At your worst hour, you brought these people over there. Now you want to kick them out? That's just cold, man. It's just cold, man.
World War II, 75 years ago.
Exactly. That's just cold, man. That's just cold.
And the thing is, most of they've built their homes, they've built their entire lives there.
Exactly.
They have had children, their children have had children, and now their great-grandchildren are having grandchildren having children too.
And this is what you're doing.
Other lifestyle other than England. Why are you going to send them back to Jamaica and Barbados?
Exactly. They're English.
Exactly. Yes, they have all rights to be a citizen. Claiming
most of these people, most of them, they came over before their countries gained independence. They really are British. They really are British subjects.
Very true.
There's no ifs, ands, and buts about it.
Indeed.
Kim, this world is going mad, right? I know we're not going to fix all these issues on the LimeVibe podcast, not by any stretch, right? But still, though, how you doing, though? I didn't ask you how you doing. How's things with you?
I'm doing well, as best I can, right for now.
You look more rosy, though. You took my rant very well, my early rant very well today, Kim. Usually you start rolling your eyes, but you took it really well. You took it like a champ, because I think you understand that I have to rant.
Got my face covered. I shook my head. You would see me shaking my head in dismay.
Yeah. We can't all agree. We can't all agree.
This is what is happening with Yari. Yari needs to get out a little bit more and come out of the Bahamian library and come and visit our library. I will show you some books. Take a walk to our universities and have some discussions with our lecturers here as well.
Yeah. So I become more cultured and more learned, right? I know.
Yeah, I would appreciate that.
And this might could be a dangerous thing, this might could be a very dangerous thing, I'm just happy that I have the freedom. I just thank God I have the freedom to actually have this on my own. And there's nobody pulling my chain. I don't have to, kiss anybody's butt. I don't have to actually like anybody. I would like to I love to love people, but I don't have to if I don't want to, I love this freedom, And in saying that, if I could be disabused of my notions and ideas, then fine. I don't mind. I'm a pretty open spirit. I'm pretty liberal in terms of the way I think about things, but you have to actually prove a good case to me. I'm not just going to sit there and take everything that's shoveled against me or shoveled towards me and like it. you know. That's just not me.
Take
It never was me. It never was me. And my colleagues and my family members, they always hated me for it. I just don't buy any old foolishness, you know. Don't give
No,
it.
you have a brain of your own, yes.
Exactly.
You can do your research and find out for yourself. I'm a student of science before a communication student.
Mm,
I would have seen some things and in research and understanding.
okay. Well, Kim, that's the show, man. Any final thoughts? It's 9:30. Wow. Any final thoughts?
You know, a pleasant and safe weekend. I pray that all our islanders up the island chain to Barbados, St. Vincent and Grenadine, St. Lucia, that they are able to recover and rebuild and be safe and better.
Yes, yes, I agree too. I think you said it for both of us, kids. Kim, this weekend is Crab Fest in North Andros, and so everyone's going over to North Andros to enjoy the Crab Fest. So, and saying that, we want to keep our brothers in Barbados and St. Vincent in prayers as they try to deal with Hurricane Brett. And as Cindy, you know, tries to creep up towards them as well, we want to keep them in prayers. Just want to mention to them to be safe, keep the place battened up, make sure you have your candles and your electronic devices charged up, and just be safe. Just be safe. You will be safe. So this is Yori Kemp again from the LimeVibe Live podcast. I just want to say, if you have not done so, please like, share, and subscribe to our videos on Facebook and YouTube. Like, share, and subscribe to our videos on Facebook and YouTube. It really helps out a lot. And also in the description, you're going to see a donate link, and you can donate anything that comes to your heart. We appreciate anything that you could donate to this show. It really helps to keep the lights on, helps to keep a good, informative show so we keep you guys entertained. So this is Yori Camp signing off of LimeVibe Live, along with my co-host, Miss Kimberly Ramcalawan. Kim, I guess we're going to see you on Monday, right?
Yes.
So amen, sister. Amen. Let's get out of here.
Night.